Good morning. We're learning as a schusser for Shleima Filan Chaya Basarach. We're at the two dots on top of Chof Gimel Amar Aleph. Itma. Chaimitz de Minchas Chayte. The three lines on the top. Itma. Chaimitz de Minchas Chayte Sheshamne. The Chaimitz of a Minchas Chayte. A Minchas Chayte, together with a Minchas Kenois. Minchas Chayte is the Mincha of a carbon oil of a Yerid, and that of a Minchas Kenois, that they're unusual in that they are made without shemen. Like we've seen that, it's not supposed to be mahuder. The Rebbeinu Shalom, it's a Xeris HaKosev. Shimon holds darshan time. The reason he doesn't want it to be mahuder, so it's made without shemen. If you remember, we had Shaloi Tehei Chayt and Niskar. They maybe should put in shemen. So Rabbi Yochanan and Amar, Rabbi Yochanan says, if in spite of the fact that the Torah says that a minchas chayt isn't supposed to be made without shemen, if you added in shemen to it, this is talking about the kaimitz. If you added shemen to the kaimitz, Rabbi Yochanan apostle, Rabbi Yochanan says it's possible, which is very understandable. The Torah says, lo yasam ala shemen, lo yitin ala levina. So you follow that. So if you don't follow the pasuk, it's the pasuk of kaimitz. Shak shomer hu atzmai mishach shechai b'shirei alog omalei. Good morning, Rafal.
Morning, Rabbi.
We're on the top of Chof Gimel Amud Aleph. We just started a minute ago by the two dots. 3 lines from the top of Chof Gimel Amud Aleph. The saying Machlekes Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. If someone added shemen to a minchas chayta, which is not supposed to have shemen, Rabbi Yochanan says it's possible. Reish Lakish Amar Hu Atzmai Mishachshechai B'Shiyarei Alugum Aleu. He says, Reish Lakish says, not only if some oil got mixed in, b'di'evet is a kosher, but you are supposed to put in a little bit of oil. It's hard to, you got to have some liquid to make this workable. It's hard to maneuver pure flour, so you're supposed to add in a little bit of shemen even to the kaimitz of a minchas chayta to make sure it helps you get everything out of the sides of the kli. Correct the Gemara, the obvious question on Reish Lakish. The Torah says you shouldn't put in shemen. How could you say that even lechatchila you're supposed to add in some shemen? So Gemara, he says that doesn't mean that you can't add in a little bit to the kaimitz. It means the way Rashi says it is that you shouldn't let's see, Rashi yikvel shemen ba'oid shaloi nikmitza aval acher kmitza if sham niksas kosher. It just means that you can't put at the beginning when you're first making the carbon. It can be kavua with shemen, but to add on into the kaimitz is not problematic according to Reish Lakish.
So what do you mean again? Reish Lakish said, "Hu atzem shachsharei b'shiyarei alug ma'alehu."
That like I said, it means lechatchila. You mix it together. When you want to get out all the flour from the klisharis,
right?
The kaimitz into klisharis, you put a little bit of oil in order to make it adhere together, to make it into like a little bit of a dough, so you can get the flour out of the kli. So he's saying lechatchila you put in shemen into the kaimitz. So being mechalik, that only applies to the kaimitz. That you're supposed to put in shemen, but of course Reish Lakish would agree when he says when the Torah says you shouldn't put shemen into your minchas chayta, it means when you first kaveya the actual the body of the mincha prior to taking away the kaimitz, it can't include shemen. But once you got to the kaimitz, it's okay to put in some oil. It's not only okay, like he says, it's lechatchila. Eisei Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan has on Reish Lakish. Cherev she'nis'arev bebalo. When you have a dry kaimitz that got mixed into a kaimitz that includes shemen, yakrev. The Tanna Kama says you can't be makrev it. Now we're going to remind ourselves of the machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan on the previous block. the machlekes, that the Rabbanan said that oilin ba'oilin is not bottle. If you have two things that are both going to be burnt on the mizbeach, one is not bottle and the other. That's why he explained the dam that's not mixing into dam. Rabbi Yehuda said min b'mina is not bottle. The Rabbanan say min b'mina is bottle. Rabbi Yehuda holds min b'mina is not bottle. So my love, when we say this din, that a dry kaimitz that got starved into a kaimitz that got mixed into a kaimitz that has shemen in it. The Chacham say you can bring it on the mizbeach, and the Rehuda says you can't. My love, kaimitz the minchas chayta. Are we not talking about a kaimitz of a minchas chayta? Well, we've been talking. That's what a dry kaimitz is. A kaimitz without shemen is from a mincha that doesn't have shemen, and you're taking the kaimitz. The Arab, the kaimitz, the minchas nadava. They got mixed in with the regular kaimitz that has shemen. So, and that Rashi explains. So, what's going to be the problem? So, if you hold like Rish Lakish, so we could, if you hold like Rish Lakish, that you are allowed to put shemen into a minchas chayta. So, why would we make this? So the way we're understanding
But
this,
we have to hold this that you can not.
Rish Lakish.
Oh, if you hold like Rish Lakish, that you
You
could.
hold like Rish Lakish. It's a kasha on Rish Lakish.
All right.
So if you hold like Rish Lakish, that you can.
Yeah.
So why did we? It's hard to understand why we made it into this case of a kaimitz that got mixed in with a kaimitz that's balul, a kaimitz that has shemen in it. Why don't we just describe it according to Rish Lakish? We should have described it as a. I'm sorry. Why do we say the machlekes in Chachamim and Rabbi Yehuda is talking about where a regular shemen, not shemen that was part of a mincha, that was part of a kaimitz, but rather a kaimitz, a piece of some shemen that that was just stam shemen got mixed in. So then we would understand, according to the Rabbanan, who hold that oilin ba'oilin is not bottle, but over here it would be yakdir, because this is not an oilin. And so therefore the shemen that goes in is bottle. But according to the Rabbi Yehuda, who says min b'minoi is not bottle, but since you have some flour here, like we said on the top of the Amid, that would be min b'she'enei minoi. I'm sorry. No, what's the idea? No, give me a minute. Let's think about this. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we're saying, so let's before we say what it should have said, the way we're understanding it is that we're talking about the kaimitz of a minchas chayta. They got, when we say the machlekes of Yehuda and the Rabbanan, it's talking about the kaimitz of a regular mincha that got mixed in with the kaimitz of a minchas chayta. So according to Yehuda, he says things are bottle. If they are min b'she'enei minoi, then the shemen of the kaimitz of the minchas chayta becomes bottle to the minchas chayta, and therefore the minchas chayta is going to be possible because it got shemen in it, and the minchas nedava is going to be possible because it's mechusar, because it lost some of its shemen to the minchas chayta. And Um, yeah. So, so we're understanding that the reason why the Chachamim say that it's Yakdir is because since the shemen that's coming from this Minchas Nedava is also oilin, so it's oilin ba'oilin, and therefore it's not batal. Um, right? So oilin ba'oilin is not batal, so it remains part of where it came from. You still have the shemen. The shemen does not is we look at it, if it's not batal, then it still remains as part of the original minchas nedava, and it also does not get included since it's not batal. It doesn't become treated as part of his kaimitz. So you could go the kaimitz of the minchas chayta, you could go and burn them together. So. So the Gemara said that if the Chachamim hold like Rish Lakish, that a minchas a minchas chayta, which does not have any shemen, does not become puzzle by adding shemen to it, why didn't we just talk about why are we talking about a kaimitz? Where it's a kaimitz of a minchas adava that got mixed in. Let's just talk about the shemen. So we see from the fact that we're talking about Bedavka, a case of where oilin ba'oilin is the issue between the Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. You see that the machlekes is based on the question of Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan. So therefore, we're saying that it must be that both the Chachamim and Rabbi Yehuda hold that a minchas chayta does become possible if you add shemen to it, and that's why we couldn't make the machlekes on that. They're only.
You think it's only specifically because it's a case of Oilin. We had to specifically make it a case of two menchas that are Oilin, and that's where the machlokes would apply.
I think the way I would say it, and this is the way I'm understanding it. I could be, if I thought about it more, I'd have a different way of saying it, or maybe it could be it's not 100%. But this is the way I'm getting it now is that if you held like Reish Lakish that you can add shemen to that there's no problem with adding shemen to a minchas chayta. That you could have had the same machlekes with a minchas chayta, got just stam shemen. Then we would have Rabbi Yehuda would say it's let me think about this a minute. I had this before, and now when I'm saying it over again, it's giving me trouble. Let's do it with Rashi. Okay, we'll learn together today. It's Rabbi Yehuda Amalei Yaakov.
Which Rashi is this?
This is the Rashi, 3 lines down in the narrow lines. Yaakov. Sak Rashi, the Rabbanan l'tamayu, the oilin ein mevatlin zeh. The Rabbanan say the reason why when you have the minchas chayt, the kaimitz of the minchas chayt mixed with the kaimitz of a minchas dava, it could be brought on the mizbeach. You could burn it on the mizbeach because they say they both intended to go on the mizbeach. Everything, the shemen, both kaimsim are going on the mizbeach, so they're not mevatel, not batel, and therefore the shemen is considered to still be part of the original minchas nedava, and the minchas chayt is not considered to have absorbed any of it. Yehuda Aimer lo Yaakov. Yehuda says lo Yaakov. Vafilu Rabbanan le'amri Yaakov el mishum de'oilin ein mevatlin zeh. The heicha, the shita sends it. The heicha the isa the Isa Aminchas Nedava Shadinanli. Because wherever it is, we're gonna include it. Since, like we said, the Chacham hold Ein Oilin Ein Mevatlin Zeh. Wherever it is, we're going to treat it as part of the Shemin. It's going to still be part of its Minchas Nedava. We're going to disregard the fact that they're mixed together. It doesn't make a difference since it's not bottle. It still remains part of its source. Aval im nafel Shemin b'koinitz dechaita. This is the point. But if it would be regular shemen that fell into the minchas chayta, afilu rabbanan la yaakov. So this is the core of the diak. The point is from the fact that we had to say that it's because it's a kaimitz, um, that's why the Chachamim say it's going to be Yaakov. It's mashma, but if it was just shemen, if it wasn't a shemen in a kaimitz, that we could say ein oilin mevatlin zeh, because it would be just regular shemen that doesn't go in the mizbeach, then the Rabbanon would say lo Yaakov. So that's the diak that we're using. That's not like Reish Lakish. According to Reish Lakish, even if it was regular shemen, it wouldn't be a problem of hakrava because we don't have a problem with shemen being added to a minchas chayta. So that's the deal. And for the Gemara, loy. That is not what the Brisa meant when we said Cheresh is Avabal Yak the Machlekes between Rabbanan and Rabbi Yehuda in Cheresh is Avabal. Look, minchas parim ve'elim but minchas kvasim. We're talking about the mincha of a parim ve'elim, which have a lower proportion of oil, since they have a larger amount of flour, the oil and has the same amount of oil in it, the mincha of when you bring along with your parim ve'elim has less oil in it as compared to the mincha of a kvasim of a sheep. And when you mix together the kaimitz of these two things, there's going to be a higher percentage of oil in the minchas kvasim as opposed to the minchas parim ve'elim. So we call the parim ve'elim the charevis, charev, and we call the kvasim in that case a bal. So it has nothing. You can't make that diak. You can't make the diak that it means to say shemen as opposed to it says a kaimitz as opposed to that it could have been talking about a shemen because we're talking about a different question. We're saying where it's relatively more and relatively less. So it's affecting Gemara. How could you say that switching over what the meaning of the Machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan is to Minchas Parim ve'elim Charev and I'm sorry Charev together with Baal to be talking about relative amounts of shemen in the kaimitz, but and then the Rabbanan will be saying that you say it's Yaakov because they say each one the shemen of each one remains separate because it's all oilin, and Rabbi Yehuda will say it's can't be hokra because it's min b'minai and it's not batal. Min b'minai. I'm sorry, no, it's it's. Also, why according to him it should be min b'minai any batal? Why is it any different according to Rabbanan? Yeah, because right. He'll say it'll be considered to be miyusef. What do you think? Or does anyone have an explanation why isn't it considered mimba mina, which is not bottle, and therefore it should be l'chayra, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, it should be hokrav. Um,
Isn't it the same? Hold on. The reason why,
Min b'minai is not bottle. Okay, but so now it's not nothing to do with bottle. It just they're mixed together, so they're not considered to be separate.
because of the island,
No, but I'm saying Rabbi Yehuda was saying it is going to be it is going to be puzzle because we're going to
right?
say that the one that's dry, that's the let's say the parim are going to consider to have gotten some of the shemen from the
That's what
kvasim,
Yehuda says possible because of too much,
right? But
right?
why don't we say that it's min b'minoi? The shemen, it's two shemens. So why don't we say it's min b'minoi? Look, even whether it's the machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabban is whether you say what causes something not to be bottled. According to Rabban, it's oilin makes
Right.
it not bottled. According to Shimon Yehuda, it's min b'minoi is not bottled.
Over here, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the reason it's puzzled because it's too much oil, right? According to Rabbanan, the reason why it's kosher, is because
Because
it's
they say
it's
it's all
island,
island,
right?
it's not bottled, and they're considered to be still distinct.
Step.
I don't understand why according to Rabbi Yehuda it's not min b'minoi, which is not bottled. How do you have its min b'sheinim? Let's see the Rashi on this also. Minchas osha parim ve'elim. Charev legabe minchas cham keves. The keves havi shloisha lugan li'sarn. This is like about 10 lines down in the narrow lines. Havi shloisha lugan li'sarn. I'm not going to really go through the calculations of how you have more by the parim. I'm just going to go quickly through it. But you say hin shemen vehin shnayim asalugan which parim ve'elim shnei lugan. D'chsei b'par bol v'shem chatzei hin dahainu shisha lugan. Shisha says Hasam vade le Yaakov, according to Rabbi Yehuda, mishum denimtzes ha'ava raka, because the one that was thick, that had less oil, now will become thicker with more oil. Aval kaimitz the minchas chayte, the arba kaimitz the minchas nedava, Yaakov. Eina chanami, the kaimitz would be Yaakov. I'm having a hard time. I'm a little stuck on
I
it.
think you're looking at the last Rashi is what you're looking for. Yehuda Emeloi Yaakov, right? The She'enai Minoi Rabba Alavu Mevatlai.
Which Rashi? Yehuda Melakav Afilu Rabban Liyam Yaakov.
It's
That's talking about in the previous
right now we're going Prushik and Mefarish, meaning
Oh,
what
pretty sure
is
that's
that?
the next thing. That's later.
Oh,
That's part of the teretz. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what the why this is not the case. The truth is, there's going to be on the next Amud, there's going to be a whole analysis of what under what circumstances is something called min b'mina. Does it depend on the physical appearance, or does it depend on its halacha? So maybe that's why. Okay, let's continue. Fragt dem Arba, behedjek tanila, minchas parim ve'elim be'minchas kvasim, b'chayev shenis abaval, Yaakov, Yehuda Amalei Yaakov. There's a brisa that lists both of these cases. You can't say charev shenis arav bebalul means minchas parim ve'elim be'minchas kvasim, because this brisa lists them as two separate machleksin, and Rabbi Yehuda is arguing on both of them. So why don't we still have the diak if you say minchas parim sulchera? When it says charev shenis arav bebalul, it's talking about the kaimitz that became the kaimitz of a minchas chayt that became nisarav with a minchas nedava, the kaimitz of a minchas nedava. So Gemara Prusha Kama Farishla. It doesn't mean that it's two separate things. It's explaining Einachanami. This Bryce is a raya. This Bryce is saying what is the case of Cherev Shenisar Bebol. That's Minchas Parim Ve'elim. That's Minchas of Minchas Kvasim. Boy Rava. Kaimitz Shemitza Shamne Al Gabe Eitzim. If you have a kaimitz that you squeezed out the shemen of it onto the eitzim on the mizbech, mao. Chibure oilin ka'oilin damu. Do we say that now you put the kaimitz on top of the wood, do you say that the oil is still considered to be part of the kaimitz? It's not considered to be a kaimitz that's missing some of its shemen because it's still on sitting right next to it on the wood together with the oil. Oilafka oil and dami. Or do you say no? It's been separated. It's in the wood. It's no longer in the kaimitz. Is this not the machlokes of Rabbi Yechon and Reish Lakish in a different context? The itma hamala aver she'ein by kazayis. If someone is mala bachutz, we know we went a long time through the inyanim of being shchutei chutz and being mala bachutz, bringing a carbon by outside of the Beis Hamikdash. There's a lav on it. But this person, in order to be over for bringing a carbon bachutz, you have to bring a sufficient amount. It has to be a kazayis. And he was mala an aver that did not have a kazayis. Ve'etzem mashlim kazayis. But next to that aver, there was a bone that came from this carbon that added it to a kazayis. It was next to it. It wasn't part of the aver. Rabbi Yechon says Yechayev, it is considered to be kazayis. Rabbi Yechon says it's potter. Rabbi Yechon Mechayev chibur oil and kail and dam. Rabbi Yechon says it's chayev since this bone is right next to the aver, and together they add it to kazayis. We look them as one. And therefore it's kail and dam, and therefore you're going to be chayev for being mala b'chutz. Rabbi Yechon potter chibur and lavkid oil and dam. And Rabbi Yechon and Reish Lakish disagree. So we want to extrapolate and say the same thing will be with the shemen in the eights. It will also, do we treat something that is adjoining as being part of its original, as part of the greater cheshbon, and it will all be counted together. And therefore, in our case, it will be a kaimitz that has its shemen, its full amount of shemen. Zaktamar tiboiler Rabbi Yochanan v'tiboiler Reish Lakish. Where it says it's not necessarily the case. You both are going to Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. There are reasons to distinguish between the case of shud of haktara b'chutz with basar with an aver that has a etzem next to it, as opposed to our case of a kaimitz that its shemen is absorbed into the wood. Tiboi l'Rabbi Yochanan, even according to Rabbi Yochanan, who said Yechayev, meaning that chibure that the chibure oilin is going to be ka'oilin in the case of etzem and aver. Ad kan l'kamar Rabbi Yochanan hasam. He only said that by the aver with the etzem. Alo etzem demina de basahu. Since basar and etzem are both parts of the original aver. Now, etzem has a different status. That an etzem does not have to be brought on the mizbeach. At some there's no chiyuv of being mal of them, but they have it in that if once they're on the mizbeach, you don't take them down. But they are part of the same animal. Aval hai de la mina de kaimitzu. Shemen and the flour are two separate things. So maybe they're not considered to be bound together by their proximity. Or that's one svara. Even you could say the other way around. Reish Lakish, who said you potter by the etzem, maybe he says that only by etzem you potter because it's not chibure oilin, it's oilin dami. But by our case, he would say it's chibure, that by the shemen with the kaimitz it would be considered attached. Why would he say by etzem it's not attached? The bar mifreshu, because the etzem, if it pops off, it's something that's capable of being separated. It can, after you put it on the mizbech, it's possible. We've talked about this paka that you sometimes have, that the fire causes pieces to pop off. So since it's capable of popping off, the parish lav mitzvah aduri, and if it should pop off of the mizbeach, there is no chiyuv of being mal of the etzem. Once the etzem comes off, you could leave it off. But shemen, it doesn't even enter this possibility. There's no such thing that the heat of the fire causes the mincha it's only by I guess things that are greasy, a physical behemoth that it could have things going off, like you find by a frying pan, but you don't find when you bake something that pieces fly off. So the mincha doesn't have that possibility. So therefore, it's more unified by the fact that it's next to it. No, maybe you don't say. So teku, we don't have a raya. Both Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish are not necessarily indicative of this question that we have. Okay, let's just see the Mishnah. We'll see at least the Mishnah, and then we'll talk the Mishnah. Shtei menachos sheloi nikmitzu. If you have two minchas that did not have the kaimitz taken off of them, so you have mincha A and mincha B, and you haven't yet taken off the kaimitz. And part of mincha A mixed in with part of mincha B. Let's say 75% of mincha A with 75% of mincha B. So you have 25% of mincha A that's still mixed, that's still on its own, not into the general mixture in the middle, as well as a mincha B, and then 150% of each one, or let's say each one was 100 grams, so 150 grams are mixed together. If in the remaining unadulterated portion of mincha A, there's enough to do a kmitza, there's a sufficient leftover, let's say flour with shemen, that you could still do a kmitza, ksheris. Then, and the same thing with B, it's going to be kosher. Now, it means even if one of them doesn't have enough to do a kmitza, the other one's also going to be pasul, because then you're not going to be able to be maktir the rest of it will, the part of it that remains in the mixture is always going to remain a mincha. It's not going to be able to be shirayim that could be eaten by the kehanim, because you're never going to be able to take a kaimitz from it, because you're not going to know that what you're getting is just the kaimitz. But if not, so therefore it's going to be possible. Kaimitz nish'aru b'mincha shaloi nikmitza. What if you have a combination that mincha A, you took the kaimitz, and mincha B, you had not yet taken the kaimitz, and the kaimitz got mixed in with the second mincha. Lo yakter. The rule is you should not be makter it. V'im hikter. But if you do so, the one that you already took the kaimitz from, you really shouldn't be makter it, because part of it is not most of it, right? If you have a combination from the first mincha, that mincha never had a kaimitz, so it's not considered to be it's not roy lemizbech. It's not a kaimitz. You don't put a mincha directly on the mizbech until you do kmitza. But if you do, there's mixed in with it is the first kaimitz, so you are yaitz your kmitza, and therefore that one is going to be a good carbon for its bialim. The one that had no kmitza obviously is not oil bailim. Nisar of kaimsa b'shireh. What about if you took the kaimitz from mincha A and mincha B? You also took the kaimitz. I'm sorry, you didn't. You took the. There's only one mincha here. So Nisar of kaimsa, he mixed in the kaimitz together with what was left over of his own kaimitz. Oy b'shireh shel chavata, or he mixed it into. You had taken the kaimitz from mincha B, but then you mixed in the kaimitz of mincha A with the shiraim of either mincha A or mincha B. Lo yakter. At that point, it's lo yakter, and this is a lav, which we learned out that the Torah says lo saktiru menu ishel Hashem, lo saktiru kol shem menu ishim. We saw this before, that anything that's shiraim is also to be brought in the mizbeach. But if you are makter, again, in the end, you did burn your kaimitz, even though it was done with a avera, it's still going to be a good oil l'baylam l'shem chayva. Okay, the Gemara's question is on a totally separate topic. We're gonna have tomorrow. What we did today was the easy part. Tomorrow is much harder. That's the real
Well,
item of bittul.
all
Okay.
right. Looking
Um,
forward.
we'll see you tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem, again on Zoom, I'm afraid.
All right.